Chapter 8 Ichu Aja, the sacred practice in Odinani. Ichu Aja, Itu Aja, or Nchu Aja, is a practice and ritual in Odinani which is used to represent or describe a sacrifice or proprietary offerings made to spirits to seek their favor, or in some cases to appease them. It is believed that since we originate from the spirit realm and are entangled as a result with such realms, by virtue of those realities being where we come from into this world, spirits have the power to bring blessings or misfortunes to humans. So, it is essential for us to maintain a good relationship with them while we go about our affairs on earth. Before we proceed to break down the concept of Ichu Aja, it is important to note that Igbo language is multidimensional and multilinear in its nature. Those who can understand the nature of Igbo language and approach its use or interpretations from this basis will be able to decode a lot more from the language in a way that will be useful to their understanding of Odinani. The term Aja can be used to describe the loose, granular substance that covers part of the earth's surface, such as sand or soil. It can also refer to that which cloaks, such as dirt or impurities. In that sense, Ichu Aja literally means driving away Aja, that is, driving away impurities or dirt. In another sense, Aja refers to a field of life. This sense, in its nature as life field essence, has been passed down to us in the term Ajanwikaka, which describes Aja to us as the child or part of Ijitaka, which basically means life, a realm of life. In essence, when one is aligned with Aja as the field of life, one's life, being fully alive, is virtually guaranteed in effect. In line with the sense of Aja, we can say Ichu Aja means being in pursuit of that aspect of life which sustains us, being in pursuit of the very thing which keeps us alive or recharges us. Ichu Aja, as an indigenous practice amongst Ndibo, was instituted or is known to have come into practice during the age of Ugachi, which is the second world age in Igbo cosmology. Ugachi is believed to have been the age of the gods or spirits. During this age of Ugachi, humans were believed to have become more materialistic and less spiritual, and as a result, the gods or spirits withdrew from human affairs, including living freely in the world of humans. The implication of the withdrawal of gods ever since has been an effective distance in consciousness, awareness of spirit, unseen life force or field. Consequently, those who wanted to keep or maintain a strong connection with them were given the option of Ichu Aja as a spiritual practice. Let's address some of the purposes and spiritual benefits of Ichu Aja in Odinani. We have already established that it is a concept and ritual that enables those who practice it to make sacrificial offerings in many forms for different purposes. So let's provide more instances of its use. Ichu Aja is used to initiate a state of purification, as a rite that metaphysically chases away or removes spiritual dirt or impurities. It makes a way for positive energy in many forms to flow into a person's life by cleansing their path. In this sense, it serves as a purification rite. It serves as a tool for energetic exchange. Whenever Ichu Aja is done, there is an expectation that something negative is taken away or ceases to exist and is replaced with something better that improves the well-being of the person on whose behalf it is done. Ichu Aja is used as a tool for thanksgiving. In this sense, a person sets their intention of gratitude and positive acknowledgement for the manifestation of good things in their life, and they rely on their sacrifice to relate or channel their intentions to their spiritual forces. It serves as a memory or consciousness rejuvenation tool. Ichu Aja makes way for ancestral memories or consciousness that was lost or taken away in the age of Ugachi, but is still very present in the life field of Ijitaka or Ikaka in Demotic Igbo, to stay, flow, or come into a person's life easily. This is one of my personal favorite aspects of Ichu Aja as a practice. The purpose it serves to help us remember, recall, or retain ancestral intelligence. In Igbo spirituality, Aja is a tool that can be used to reevaluate and rebalance an individual's karmic path or that of their chi. In this case, as Onyowa or reincarnator. Every person within the Igbo worldview is believed to be accompanied by a guardian force or reincarnator who also serves as a chi. This reincarnator may have incurred karmic debts from previous lives, which can impact the individual's current existence. Certain forms of Aja can be employed to address these karmic debts, thereby clearing the path for the individual and aiding their progress in their present life on earth. Kalma, karmic force, can have both negative and positive impacts on a person's life. In its negative form, it can hinder progress due to the individual's own actions or those of their reincarnator, while in its positive form, it can serve as a blessing and a source of strength. With Ichu Aja, certain karmic debts, especially those inherited, can be addressed to aid with a smoother path into a person's life. Items used in Ichu Aja rituals, which range from different types of animals, blood offerings, to all sorts of things, all have their metaphysical and symbolisms, which is beyond the scope of what we intend to cover in this book. What's important is understanding that each item is symbolic. They have things they represent or even totemize interdimensionally. This aspect of symbolism enables certain effects that are in direct relation to the energies the symbols align with to take place or kick into force spiritually. Knowing and understanding the multiple purposes and spiritual benefits Ichu Aja as a spiritual practice in Odinani can have in a person's life is important because being conscious or aware of its possibilities can help its effects become more useful in our lives. Knowing and understanding its possible effects make it easier to be intentional about the practice. We've said some things in some of our other publications about the importance of having intentions set when expecting spiritual results. Ultimately, Ichu Aja programs the mind, both figuratively and literally, to expect blessings to come, and it banishes fear of the unknown in people, which results in hope, peace of mind, and mental fortitude. It represents a sort of security from the present and future well-being of those who engage in the ritual frequently. There is a conversation to be had around the ways some of these sacrificial offerings are carried out in this age and time, the required ethics it entails, which we must all be conscious of for our own sakes and that of the environment. But there's not enough room in this book to get into that, maybe in subsequent works. On that note, as ndị Igbo say, ka a na-achụ aja, ka ikpe na-ama ndị mmụọ. The role of animal blood, Obara, in Odinani, and why ancestors used it. In Odinani, blood, known as Obara, is very spiritually significant as it represents life itself. Just like water, blood is considered a liquid form of life, carrying the life force of existence within its plasma. It is used in various rituals and ceremonies to infuse life into objects that are not naturally alive, such as an alusi, deity totems, ofo, staff of authority, ikenga totems, ogwo, charms, and other sacred items. Our ancestors, based on their needs at the time, understood that blood could be a bridge between the material and spiritual worlds, a conduit through which life could be simulated and maintained. To truly understand the role of blood in Odinani, it is important to consider its dual nature in the context of rituals. blood contains plasma and platelets. Each of them esoterically represents different aspects of existence. Plasma, the liquid component of blood, is a reflection of the life force behind Mo, spirit. It represents the ethereal and intangible qualities of life. It is the plasma that gives blood its life-giving properties, making it a powerful tool in spiritual rituals. On the other hand, platelets are more reflective of the uniting force behind Madu, human. It represents the physical and corporal aspect of existence. Together, these components make blood a unique substance that connects the spiritual and physical realms. How animal blood is used in Odinani. In the traditional Igbo way of life, animal blood was and still is used in various spiritual practices to honor the ancestors, deities, and the land itself. The act of spilling blood is a deeply symbolic gesture, meant to acknowledge the life force that sustains all living beings and to communicate with the unseen worlds. Infusing life into sacred objects. Blood is used to infuse life into objects that are considered sacred but are not naturally alive. For example, when consecrating a totem, blood is poured on these objects to imbue them with life force, necessary for them to carry out their spiritual functions. This act symbolizes the transfer of life force from the animal to the object, making it a living entity in the spiritual sense. Offering to the ancestors and spirits. Our ancestors killed their own meat, which means that bloodshed was an inherent part of their daily lives. In the process of preparing meat, the blood of the animal was usually collected and offered to the ancestors and spirits. This was done as a way of honoring the non-living members of the family, to make sure that they were remembered and respected. The living members would consume the meat while the blood was poured on altars, sacred trees, or directly on the earth as an offering. This act was always accompanied by a prayer or intention, asking for blessings, protection, and guidance from the ancestors and deities. No part of the animal serving as meat was wasted. Symbolic representation of life. In many rituals, animal blood is used to symbolize the essence of life. When they offered blood, our ancestors were acknowledging the life force that flows through all beings and were making a connection with the spiritual world. This practice reinforced the idea that life is sacred and that the physical and spiritual worlds are inherently connected. In Igbo culture, the act of spilling blood is not taken lightly and is governed by specific cultural practices and gender roles. For instance, bloodshed is typically not committed by premenopausal women. This is rooted in the belief that women, particularly those who have not yet reached menopause, are already closely connected to the mysteries of life and death through their menstrual cycles and the potential for childbirth. Therefore, the responsibilities of spilling blood, especially in ritual context, usually falls to men, who are called upon to assist in the killing aspect. The act of spilling animal blood in ritual context is not seen as an act of violence but as a sacred duty. This is why the very act in itself is done with intention, and in ancient times it was done with ritual precision that communicated with the animal in question and caused it the least amount of pain. It is a way of acknowledging the connection between all life and the responsibility of humans to maintain balance in the universe. When animal blood is shed, it is done with reverence and a deep understanding of its spiritual implications. The offering of animal blood to the ancestors, deities, and the land is a way of making sure that the life force continues to flow, nourishing both the physical and spiritual worlds. In Odinani, animal blood is a liquid form of life itself, carrying the energy that powers existence within its plasma. Through the ritual use of animal blood, our ancestors were able to infuse life into sacred objects, honor the ancestors and spirits, and maintain the balance between the physical and spiritual worlds. The practice of spilling animal blood was governed by specific cultural practices and gender roles, making sure that it was done with utmost reverence and respect. Being aware of the role of the blood in Odinani can help us gain insights into the deep spiritual wisdom of our ancestors and the sacredness of life in all its forms. It can also help us understand the core principles behind the practice, which can help those interested in pioneering alternative systems come up with precise innovations that can move us forward as a collective.